Yeah, I see Holden's recording.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to meet you. It must be such a big relief that the show finally released and getting to see all the positive reactions throughout the weekend.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's been amazing.
How was it for you getting to direct, getting the cinematography for the first 2 episodes, pretty much laying the groundwork for a live action adaptation? Was it a daunting task to bring Eiichiro Oda's vision to life?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a lot of pressure, but an exciting challenge that both the director Mark and I really wanted to take on. We loved the IP and we loved the idea of trying to break the spell of this not working in the past. So yeah, it was a big job. Like I said, we spent a lot of time trying to figure it out and trying to figure out what was the best way to go about it. Yeah.
Was it challenging to kind of bring, there's an anime, there's the manga, so there's so many different versions of the adaptation. Was it challenging to kind of bring those to life while still giving it your own style to make the live action stand out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the biggest challenge, was that, we wanted to keep it grounded and keep it focused on story. Because, at the end of the day, the look is one thing, but the story is the most important. So, finding a visual language that made you feel connected to the Straw Hats and also to, some of the fantastical fantasy world as well. In the pilot and episode 2, we didn't have a lot of prosthetics. We had a lot of visual effects, but Buggy was pretty much, our big prosthetic. And then obviously we had Luffy stretching. But I think the later episodes, it was more challenging for them to figure out how to, incorporate all of the fishmen and everything into this kind of grounded world that we had wanted to set up. So I'm really happy that it worked and that everybody stayed on course and followed the look that we set. And we were really lucky. We had Mike Hatzer, who is my colorist at Technicolor Picture Shop, was able to color the hi kitty was able to color the entire series. So we were able to keep a thread throughout all the episodes, even though I wasn't there, which is great.
And as there was a lot of talks about working with Oda directly. How was that experience? Did you get to get a little insight into how he approached his story? Because I noticed there's a lot of usage of lens and close-ups. Kind of what Oda loves is focusing on faces and reactions. Was that like an approach to bring that to live action as well?
Yeah, I mean, we never had direct contact with Oda. He's very private, so he met with Matt, one of the showrunners, and spoke to a few people, but he filtered information to us, and we knew as we were going and sending him, tests and things that we were doing, that he was happy with the direction we were going in. And he would just give us feedback, and then people could respond to that. I didn't really get any feedback regarding the look so much from him. I just know that I was wanting to be respectful of the way that he had lensed his anime, which was a lot of wide, tight close-ups and, the backgrounds being soft, but not always soft, like just trying to find a balance to make it feel three-dimensional, because, watching something two-dimensional is very different. So yeah, that was definitely tricky, but he's happy.
That I think a lot of people, as we can see, are very happy with it, what it came together. How was it also approaching the different episodes? Like episode 2 was in a big circus tent, as a bit moodier with Buggy. Did you go like from an episode to episode based around environment, or try to give each island a unique personality, like with Shellstown and the circus tent?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we, obviously in the pilot, we touched on so many things, where like, in some of the other episodes, they were just in Kaya's mansion, or just in Arlong's village, or, just being able to, figure out how to present and open up all those different worlds to people was definitely tricky. So, we wanted it to feel alive and bright and cheery, even though some of the subject matter is not bright and cheery. So yeah, by the time we got to episode 2, obviously we spent a lot of time figuring out how to light Buggy and discussing the transitions and how we would start with it feeling like a real circus. And then as things get darker and darker and darker, going dark, but doing it more with color than taking away light.
Mhm.
So yeah, we just basically decided to do that. And so you could still see everything. That was really important to see things. So.
Mm. And because there's a lot of flashbacks, especially with Luffy's backstory, did you take a different approach to kind of make flashbacks stand out? I mean, they're a common trope in manga, so it's very different and challenging to kind of make it distinct with the time skips, especially the first episode where we have Gold Roger's execution, then we go to the present, and then we go back to the past. Did you try to find a way to make it visually more distinct as well?
We started off doing that, and then we decided when we got into color timing that we didn't really need to go so far with it. Similar to the manga, we wanted to sort of have it be a story point that you need to keep watching and reading, figure out, like even the Easter eggs of, the different characters, watching Gold Roger, that unless you're a big One Piece fan, you wouldn't know that was Mihawk or Buggy or, any of the people that are there. So I thought that was fun, that it wasn't like, we're just going to hit you over the head really hard with this is this. I mean, I think everybody knows Luffy is younger in those scenes, so you don't really have to go too far with it. We just gave it a little tiny bit more warmth, basically.
And what was it like just generally seeing the cast, because they're bringing to life such quirky characters and being able to see them really interact and just bring everything, especially from the beginning of production down to finally having the show done? What was that experience like, seeing this iconic world being brought to life?
Oh, I mean, it was so exciting. I mean, you never really know until you get everybody together. And I only got to work, on camera with Inaki, Emily, and McKenyu. But, when Taz and Jacob came and we were all together, even just, rehearsing and hanging out together before they started their episodes, you could tell that this was a special group. We would go to the beach together and hang out. We had so much fun. It was really nice, like getting to know them, and they were all just lovely, lovely people, young adults. It brought so much to the show. So yeah, it was really, really a joy. And, and also, I mean, it's great to work with famous people, but they weren't famous. McKenyu obviously is, but they weren't super famous yet. So they were also grounded in themselves, I think, as well as actors. So that was really, really exciting to work with talent as they're, becoming who they are. So it was great. And I saw them, growing as we were shooting them, and, they're all just such great actors. So it was really, really fun.
And because you've worked on another Netflix show with Jupiter's Legacy, if I'm correct, how different was the experience working on One Piece compared to that, even if it's under the Netflix umbrella?
Yeah, very different content, obviously, but the same. I actually was telling someone the other day, I learned a lot on Jupiter's Legacy that I was able to bring to this show, just in terms of all the different departments. I had never done a superhero show, so understanding the visual effects of that, and how stunts and prosthetics and wardrobe and production design, all the different departments working together to bring something like this to life. That's a big world building show. That was great to have that experience coming into this, and Mark and I worked on that together as well. So it was really wonderful to have had that experience with him as a director. And he has so much more experience with Marvel and DC and that whole world than I do. So he also taught me a lot, which was great.
Maybe a question, because there's a lot of already excitement, hopefulness that Netflix will renew it for a second season. Would you love to come back? Is there maybe something you would love to explore with the famous Baroque works? You already laid the groundwork in the first episode. Is there maybe a moment you said, I would love to be involved with that from the original?
Oh, I mean, sure. It's always fun. I mean, especially if it's something different, which is, something that I love about shows in streaming, is that, each season, if it's a show like this, like a Stranger Things or, a True Detective or different types of shows, each season is new. So you're not just like coming in and redoing what you've done before. So I think obviously I haven't read anything yet, because there's a strike, so there's no writing. But you know, whatever they come up with, I'm sure it'll be really exciting. I mean, there's so much content to work with, so I don't know exactly what season 2 would be. So we'll have to see.
And is there something maybe from the first season that you say that was like the biggest learning you could take with you, or something that just stayed in your head from the experience working on the first season?
You know, I think the hardest part of it was the research and development, trying to figure out how to make Luffy stretchy, how to do that in camera. We went through all different kinds of camera ideas, visual effect ideas, and I think what we ended up with was more simple than we thought we would need to do. And so I think, like, moving forward, that's something I learned, is how simple something can be and be more effective that way, as opposed to like trying to make it too complicated. So
Mhm.
I think if I came back, I'd love to bring that to the table as well. And I think everybody learned a lot from that too. So
Especially with future devil fruits being more common, it'll definitely be a bigger challenge.
oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And generally speaking, because also with Buggy, with his limbs detaching, was that very difficult to bring to life, especially because of the effect and not going too gory, because he is detaching his limbs, but you also have a lot of, you have someone being cut in half in the first episode. Was there something where you tried to bring that visual language to life that just stuck with you, or do you thought that was a really big challenge, but something that made it easier to bring back, because you said it was easier with the stretching because that was a big challenge?
Yeah, no, Buggy was a big challenge too. I mean, there was a lot of discussion about what color the cuts would be, you know, how much we would do on stage versus how much they would do later. They did develop a new technology for Buggy as well, that I can't talk about necessarily, but you could ask Scanline. It was really cool, and we ended up shooting him practically in South Africa, but then they finished all of the work with his head here in LA, in a mini volume, and then put that together in visual effects, which is really cool. And I thought it worked really well, like when he landed in her lap and his head was like talking. And I mean, we shot that practically with a prosthetic head, but then they shot all of the real footage after the fact. So all of the stuff that we basically shot plates of him when he was not attached to his body, but like all of the, you know, like the finger tapping, him breaking apart, we did shoot all of that, and then they created that later. So it was a lot of discussions and a lot of testing, but I think it turned out great. I was really happy with it. You know, that was, to me, that was actually going to be even trickier than Luffy stretching for sure.
Maybe also with the weirdness of this world and bringing that wackiness. How funny was it seeing the transponder snails come to life? Because the show does a great job by not just referencing it's just there. Was that just something like fun on set when it just appeared for the first time?
Oh my God, yeah. Like, none of us had seen it. And I remember the first time I saw one was in Morgan's office, and I walked in and I was like, what is that? And then it started animating. We had to make space for the puppeteer under the table, and all of a sudden, like, the snails like moving, and then, you know, Vincent starts feeding him lettuce, and I just was like, this is so crazy. And that was like the first time I realized, like, okay, like, there's something grounded about this show, and then there's something super not grounded about this show. Like, you know, so goofy, and just even the sound effects, you know, and they did that all on set, which was really fun. So yeah.
As a final question, did anyone try to take a transponder snail home?
Just me. I asked, they said no. I was like, please, can I have one? So I'm hoping one day maybe they'll make me like a little mini prosthetic as a gift, you know, shout out saying, make me a little gift. That'd be so great. I'm sure it'll be in the stores at some point.
I think they'll be more popular than one would think.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really good present.
Thank you so much for your time. It was great. It was great meeting you, and thank you also for the insights. And it was a great show. The team did a great job bringing this wacky world to life, and hopefully, crossing our fingers, there's a second season on the horizon.
Yeah, I can't imagine there wouldn't be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you. Bye.